Our fabric collection this time around is called Chestnut Street, and it's a sister collection, as I would call it, to our farmhouse, which we had last year, which was extremely popular. We introduced that wonderful kind of washed charcoaly black color that just, you guys really, really enjoyed. And so we thought we're gonna do something similar to that kind of retro-y feeling that farmhouse was. I know that it sold out so quickly that a lot of people didn't get to put in any extra orders, so we thought we would do something similar. The colors are pretty much identical, so it's a great thing to mix and match if you still have any of it. We did add one color. We added the yellow, which as I was doing stuff with farmhouse last time around, I found that I wanted some kind of one other little warm something in there, and so I thought, well, I'm just gonna add it in this time. So the prints are all new and different, and as usual for me, some of the prints are reproduction style, some of them are new. A lot of times people ask me, how do I come up with the prints that I put in there? I'm what I call an eclectic designer. I have, in each collection, there will always be something that's a reproduction of a vintage print. There will always be something that I've hand-drawn. There will always be something that I drew or painted on the computer. So there's always a mix of them, so that's kind of what gives our fabric collections kind of that fig tree look at this point. It's the fig tree look, because good Lord, how many of these things have I done? I don't know.
832.
Chestnut Street. How many?
832.
Prints? Yeah, that's probably actually quite accurate. Chestnut Street. I've had a couple people who have already emailed me and told me that that was a street that they've lived on in their life. So I know they should probably get some kind of a prize. If you've lived on Chestnut Street, anyone?
2 blocks away.
2 blocks away. I didn't realize it was such a popular name for a street. Who knew? So that's the first grouping of stuff I'm going to show you is from Chestnut Street, and then I have some other things I wanted to show you guys too. So this is the first quilt from Chestnut Street. It's made with a layer cake, and it's for the amount of movement that the quilt has, it's a super simple block. It's sideways, but that's okay. It looks kind of like a little propeller. It's called somersault, and we also have a little mini of it this time around. But it's a very basic construction that's just in every other quilt. Every other block is set on point to give it kind of that swirly twirly feel. So this would make a really fun class. Basically grab a layer cake, a background, and a couple extra blacks and get it started on that.
1 layer cake.
1 layer cake. And then this is a miniature version of it. We do those little minis that we really love to do in between larger projects, and this one's called Mini Somersault. And this one is actually made, we made it before we had any fabric in the studio, so this is probably made with a combination of farmhouse and strawberry fields, but it's the mini of that version that I just showed you guys. This might be one of my favorite quilts of all time. If you follow me at all on social media, you know I'm a little bit obsessed with the Moda crossweave fabric, the black of those. So this is the background is black Moda crossweave. And they have this wonderful line of chambrays coming out. I think they're coming out at this market, right, Carrie? Or is it? Or they're out?
Free market that they'll ship in June.
They'll ship in June. And there's also, so sometimes the crossweave is hard to get because it kind of comes in and goes out real fast. The black chambray in that collection is almost identical to color in this. It's just a little bit lighter and a slightly tighter weave, so it doesn't fray quite as much. It would be also a great alternative to the crossweave. This particular quilt, Moda is kitting up in one of those beautiful little boxes that you guys can get, and they're doing it with a black solid background. So our pattern has a black solid background, a cream solid background, or the crossweave, kind of to show you 3 different ways that they could look. And the pattern will also come with a plastic template inside of it. We've never done that before in terms of, we always just give you like, if we do, first of all, I usually don't use templates because I don't love them, but if I do feel like I have to have one, I just, I draw it in the pattern and you can just trace it on something. But I found that because it's just, you do your strip sets and then you want to cut it apart, on the triangles, that you really want something that's a little bit more sturdy there. So we're actually doing the plastic templates and putting them in each pattern. So the pattern is a tiny bit more, but each person will get that template in there. So that will avoid a lot of difficulties for people because they'll have that, thick edge to cut it around.
And the name of this pattern is
Midnight. Sorry, I never even told you guys the name of this one. That's Midnight. And the pattern that you guys all received, this time around we didn't do a catalog. we thought what we're going to do instead is we're going to give everyone who comes to the schoolhouse or anyone who stops by the booth one free pattern, and this is kind of our flagship pattern that we think really showcases the fabric really well. It's called Blue Ribbon because it kind of, when I was first designing it, reminds me of those Blue Ribbon Awards, you know, those kind of like those little ribbons with the things hanging down. And then the more I looked at it, the more I saw shortbread cookies. And then the more I looked at it, I saw Christmas wreaths. And then someone who saw it, was working on it ahead of time, said that they saw sunflowers. And I think it probably didn't hurt that my quilter did kind of that little cross-hatching thing in the center for the sunflower feel. But it's called Blue Ribbon. It can be made, it's fat quarter friendly, so you can just gather fat quarters. So all of you guys have one of those. We have two things that we're going to do with that. If you guys make up a store model, if you're either in an online store or a brick and mortar, you send me a picture. The first person to send me a picture on Instagram with either your store name that you know, if it's a brick and mortar, you're standing next to it, or if you're an online shop, somehow show me that it's, I don't know, show me your warehouse or something. You'll get a free fat quarter bundle of this collection. That will be for the first person to send me a finished model for their store. After that first one, if you decide that this is a model you want to make up for your shop, whether you do it in just 4 of them, 6 of them, 8 or 9 of them, or the whole 16, you'll get a special deal on how many, in terms of the price of the patterns, you'll get 25% of that any patterns that you want to order for your shop in order for that. So those are 2 things that we're doing with the pattern, and you have the pattern with you so you can take it home. If you're very motivated, you can take it home and start working on it right away.
But you need to send her the picture to get the discount.
You have to send me the picture to get the discount, yes. But that's Blue Ribbon, and it can be done. The pattern comes as a version of 9 and as a version of 16. If you, for your shop, it will be fine. If you do a version of 4, and then you just change, the measure, you would have to do your own measurements for the background and stuff. But
And where do you send the picture?
to my email. It's all on the pattern that you have it on there. All my information's on there.
All right.
So that's Blue Ribbon. And, you know what? One thing I forgot to tell you. Midnight, the one right before this, can be done with honey buns. And this collection has honey buns. So not only in the kit that Moda will be sending you will there be honey buns, but if you've ordered the kit, if you want to just do it on your own, it has honey buns. So if you've got any patterns, they're not as common as jelly rolls. So sometimes people find something they really want to do with 1.5-inch strips. So this is one of those collections that will have the honey bun strips in there. So you can kind of be thinking about that if you've got something that you want to do with 1.5-inch strips. I'll do that. And this is the 4th of the kind of the big quilts that we've got this time. It's called Granny Style. It's a great scrap quilt. It can be made with one of those fat 8 bundles. It's kind of my take on the granny square quilt. It's that style, but not exactly just a full granny square. It's really fun to make. It's got like a fun little way of putting it together, and it's a great scrap buster. You can kind of, you put together a bunch of fat 8s or even just regular 8s and get yourself started on that one. And that's the 4 big ones. Then I showed you already the little one. We've got 2 minis this time, the one that I showed you, and then we have miniaturized our we have a pattern called Sweet Sugar Swirls that's really popular, and this one is called Mini Sugar Swirls. And it can be done again with 1.5, can be done with 1.5-inch strips. Actually, they're smaller, so you would have to trim them down. But it's a great scrap buster, because you just, how you've got, a lot of times when you work with a jelly roll or something, or in the shop, if you've got little pieces, then you don't know anything what can you do with those little tiny strips? Well, you could whip one of these up. So that's got thumbtacks in it from the booth. I, of course, set the entire booth up and then looked at it and went, oh, crap. Oh, crap. So that's what I'll be putting it all back together again. So those are the quilts from this collection. We have also a new bag pattern. Moda has this fantastic new bark, they're calling it a bark cloth. It feels very linen-y to me, and it comes in several colors. I don't know how many. I used one. They're natural and also a gray tone one that I have in the booth. And then I've fallen in love with this. I don't know how many of you guys have actually seen or used this. It's called Craftex, and it's paper that feels like leather. Have you guys seen this or worked with it? Yes. It's kind of amazing. You get it on a roll, and you wash it, and you cut it like paper, but it looks like leather. You sew on it as if you were sewing over paper. It's not as hard to sew as leather, but it feels like leather, and the more you wear it and use it, it kind of looks Craftex, Kraftex, I think. It's a C&T product.
Yeah, it's like the tag for the Levi jeans.
Exactly. Yeah, it's exactly that. And it's just, it's so much fun. So we basically, it's a fairly straightforward tote bag pattern, but then we have basically added these pieces onto the bottom and the pocket and these and this little tag. It just makes it immediately feel like something special because it looks like you're working with leather. But I didn't even change needles on my machine. I mean, you have to make the stitches on your machine a little bit wider, because if you do them too small, it'll perforate it, and then it'll come up. So you just extend and I learned that the hard way, but you just extend it a little bit, and that's the only change. I didn't even change the tension or anything. So it's just real fun to work with.
You wash it first?
You wash it first to you probably don't have to, but it says on there to wash it. I think it helps to give it that. It doesn't really change it doesn't shrink anything. It gives it a little bit more of that crinkly. You can iron it, it's kind of incredible. And you
Wash it in the washer?
Yeah. Washing in the washing machine, dry it in the dryer, yeah. It softens in the washing machine and then it stiffens back up in the dryer. We've made these little portfolios out of them, like little envelope portfolios that we just close with a little button and a string. If you Google Craftex, people do wallets and little purses, and who knew? Apparently it's been around for a while, and I had one sitting. Someone sent me a sample of it, and I never did anything with it, and then one day it, how it kind of happens, you kind of become obsessed with something. This is called Bag Lady, and it's, like I said, we did it in the 2 different versions with the new Moda bark cloth.
B-A-R-T?
Bark.
Oh, bark.
Bark? Bark. B-A-R-K. Bark, bark, bark. Nobody better be taping that. Oh, you better be getting that out of there. There's no barking. There's no pictures of me barking
We'll
on
edit that
social
out.
media.
Sure.
And this, I did show you guys this at market last time. It's now all ready to go, and we're doing a couple different little patterns. We'll have more little patterns out in the fall. It's done extremely well. It's basically a giant bundle of fig tree colored wool. So as the fall comes on, and if wool is something that maybe you already work with or you wanted to work with, the comment that we get over and over again is, who knew that wool could be so bright? Well, it can be. It doesn't, it's different feels for different people. These is definitely fig tree flavored wools. And it's, you can buy it directly from Weeks or from United Notions. And I just thought for those of you guys who missed that last time around. Okay, so the second thing that I wanted to show you, where am I on time? Oh, I'm okay. Okay, it's all good. Okay, so that's all of our new stuff with our new fabric collection, Chestnut Street. It ships in September, and it's obviously on sale from your fabric rep now. The other thing that Moda is doing this market is they're introducing a series of these fantastic Bella Solid bundles. They're calling them designer bundles. Several of us designers have them, and they've got these cute, somewhat a little bit cheesy, but cute little pictures of us on the covers of them. And they're basically, those of us who have them, we've chose 12 of our favorite Bella Solids that we like to use a lot, or that blend really well with our fabrics. And they're fat quarter bundles. And so this is something you'll be able to order from Moda starting at market, I'm assuming, right? Yeah, starting at market. And then it'll be something that will be available as a part of the Bella Solids line. And what we did is when we heard that we were going to have one of these, we started making up a bunch of bigger ones on our own website ourselves. And we started a quilt along, as we are going to release a book that has all quilts out of the Bella Solids in our little thing, we're calling them the Sherbert Bella Solid bundle. This is what the booklet's going to look like. It's going to have 5 quilts in it, including this one on the cover, which I'm going to show you in a second, and the popsicle one on the back cover that I'm going to show you in a second. And we're doing a quilt along on there. So basically, as a store, you would buy for each quilt in there, in the booklet it'll tell you if it needs 1 of these or 2 of them. A bunch of them will need 2 of them. And any cream prints that you have in the shop. So what I've been doing is I've been making these for my retail customers. I've just been making cream bundle after cream bundle, any cream prints. Okay, I get that one. Oh, look, here's a couple with a couple colors, a couple that are more neutral. You want a kind of a blending. And when I show you a couple of the quilts, but it can be any creams that you have in the store, any cream prints. They'll blend really nicely with the solids, and you can kind of get them going. the quilt along itself, we have the instructions for one of the quilts in this book that we've been giving to them on the blog, and any of your customers can log on there. They'll have the instructions on there for free, and basically hoping that once they see that one, they fall in love with the way it all looks, and then they come to you and then they buy the booklet. The booklet will be available along with all of our patterns within the next 2 weeks. So let me show you what a couple of those quilts in there look like. The one that we're doing the quilt along to kind of, give everybody.
And what's the book called?
It's called Sherbets and Cream. Yes, you just keep asking me questions because I'm obviously not, all there today. Sherbets and Cream. And if you want to come up and look, there's a tiny little picture. It's so far it's nothing on the inside because it's just a pocket. But you can see the pictures of the ones that we haven't finished up yet on the back, so you can see all 5. But we have 3 of them done. This is the one that we're doing the quilt along, where the instructions will be free to anyone. Oh, no, I'll have to, they haven't seen all of it yet, people who are working on it, but they will now because it's here. So this one is called Ribbons. And so far on the quilt along, they're to the point where they're putting the pumpkin seeds together on the backgrounds of the cream prints. And they haven't seen or done any of the black, but they will now because it'll be on social media. So so as you can see, there's a mix of prints back there that have a little bit of color in them to kind of pull out the colors of the sherbets. And then there's a bunch of other ones that are just a lot more neutral. So you kind of want a mix of the two. And as you can see, this one's not bound yet. I'll be binding that in my booth as market progresses. So that one was very last. So that's one of them in the book. And then there's these 2 I'm just a little bit obsessed with right now. There's popsicles, which we did also as a mini, that I just love. It just makes me think of summer. So it's basically you do a little, strip set of 3. You have tiny little square corners on the outside that you do my favorite little, sew and flip. If you've heard me talk before, I sew and flip everything. And then same thing here with the base, and then you have 2 tiny little sew and flips that we actually have you do bigger, and then it gets trimmed, because otherwise those would be a little too small, but it makes that popsicle look kind of awesome. So same thing. All of the colors from that sherbet bundle, minus the black. We took the black out of this one. And then a collection of cream prints again. As you can see on this one, the cream prints slightly lighter, right? So mostly we chose neutral cream prints with this one, and just a few that have a little bit of something going on because the popsicles were a little bit of a smaller block. Okay, but again, same idea. In your shop, 1 or 2 of these bundles and a collection of cream prints, whatever you happen to have.
And that's going to be available when?
And all of the booklet along with all of our patterns will be, they'll be to print by the end of May. So, within the next 2 weeks. They'll be. This one we already had to put together like this for the booth, so I'm not going to take it apart. So you'll have to kind of see it like this. But this one is called Slices, and it's it's meant to be, kind of a modern interpretation of watermelons. People have already asked me, can we add black seeds? You can, but I didn't want to because I didn't have time. But it's basically same idea. All the colors from the bundle put together into, watermelon slice blocks, and then the black is left for the posts, and then again, a combination of cream prints. Most of the cream prints that we've used in here are not even ours because we've run out, so we put in a few of ours. We left other people ask me all the time, what are other cream prints that worked well with Fig Tree? Sweetwater's always got some great cream prints in there, Minnick and Simpson, some of the Moda basics. So those are always ones I'm looking on, to see what creams they have because they blend really well with the creams that I do. So it's always nice to have a combination in there of those. And then we also did, this one as a mini, as a table runner. For people who don't want to necessarily tackle the bigger one. And that's a mini standalone pattern called Mini Popsicles. And that one's already available and done and printed. We released that one a little bit early. So, but that's one more project from these bundles. So that was mini. So it was slices, see, because I'm forgetting all the names already, popsicles and ribbons, and then there's 2 more in that booklet.